Howdy all you wonderful rock buds, it's Rock Papa. Hope you guys are doing fantastic. It's a beautiful, crisp, cool autumn day here in Georgia, and I'm sitting in the Ram van. Grammy and I been working like crazy. We got it all fixed up nice. Insulated and paneled. We're heading for the mountains in 2 days. So I'm going to do a series of videos on mineral and rock colors, the different colors of minerals and rocks, and how they look and what they mean and that sort of thing. And so today we're going to do white minerals and white rocks. We're going to find out the main minerals that I know of that are white, and the rocks that they form and how those look. So stay tuned, and if this video is helpful, please subscribe. Thank you a million to all my wonderful subscribers. So here we go. White minerals and white rocks. Let's start off with quartz. As you guys probably know, quartz can be all kinds of colors, but white quartz is one of those colors, and that's what we want to look at now. Pure quartz is clear, but if quartz forms with microscopic inclusions of gas and liquid, it's milky quartz. Southeastern Indians made spear and arrow points from milky quartz because it was readily available, and milky quartz is less brittle than other forms of quartz. Milky quartz, like other forms of quartz, forms in veins in other rock when tectonic pushing and shoving creates cracks in a host rock, and then silicon-laden water lines those cracks with quartz, over time creating a quartz vein. Hey guys, let's see what quartz looks like when it forms as a mineral grain in a rock. When you see quartz in a rock like granite or granite gneiss, it's almost always going to be clear or gray, not white. And that's important to remember because it could be confused with Felspar if you thought it was white. Can you see the gray or clear quartz in these rock samples? Now let's take a look at another white mineral, Felspar. There are three categories of Felspar. There's potassium-rich Felspar, which is oftentimes pink or orangey in color. There is sodium-rich Felspar, which is usually white. And there's calcium-rich Felspar, which is also usually white. Sodium and calcium feldspars are called plagioclase feldspar. In other words, sodium-rich feldspar is called plagioclase, calcium-rich feldspar is called plagioclase, and any kind of feldspar that has a combination of sodium and calcium, and there are many, that would also be called plagioclase feldspar. To further clarify this here idea, you could say any feldspar that's not potassium-rich feldspar is called plagioclase feldspar. You guys probably remember that potassium-rich feldspar and sodium-rich feldspar have a flat, flashy face. They actually have two flat, flashy faces, but one is usually easier to see than the other. Whereas calcium-rich feldspar does not have a flat, flashy face. Here are some examples of sodium-rich feldspar for your viewing enjoyment. Sodium-rich feldspar is almost always white. Hey rock buds, now let's see what sodium-rich feldspar and calcium-rich feldspar look like when we find them in rocks. Here's some diorite, an igneous, intrusive, intermediate reaction rock, and you can see the white sodium-rich feldspar crystals in it. Metamorphism would likely turn that diorite into biotite gneiss, and here's a sample of that, and you can still see the white sodium-rich feldspar crystals. More examples of biotite gneiss with white, sodium-rich feldspar crystals. Now let's look at calcium-rich feldspar. When you find calcium-rich feldspar in a rock, it does not appear as rounded crystals. Instead, it's long, rod-shaped or patchy crystals like the ones in these photos. And since we know these calcium-rich feldspar crystals appear in mafic rocks, that's a very helpful identification tip. So when we find them in a rock, we know we're probably looking at gabbro or diabase or basalt or their metamorphic version, which would be amphibolite. Mon amis, the next white mineral we will look at is calcite. The mineral calcite is calcium carbonate. Calcite can be several different colors, but it is most often a white mineral. And calcite is the main mineral that we find in several rocks, like limestone. In these pictures of limestone, you can see the white calcite streaks that have formed in the limestone. And why is the rest of the limestone gray? It's because the impurities mixed in with the calcite give it a gray color, but under pressure, the pressure from overlying rocks squeezes calcite crystals out in veins, and that's why they're white. This rock is called dolomite, also called dolostone, and it's made of a combination of calcium carbonate or calcite plus magnesium. And here we have the metamorphic version of limestone and possibly dolomite. It is the familiar metamorphic rock marble. And as you guys likely know, limestone, dolomite, and marble will fizz when a 7% hydrochloric acid solution is dropped on them. That's a great test. Now let's look at another white mineral, kaolin, and its rock equivalent, kaolinite. Kaolin and kaolinite are very soft. As a matter of fact, kaolinite is a clay, a very pure clay. Georgia has been the #1 producer of kaolinite in the United States, and its huge kaolinite deposits are located along the fall line. Here is a picture of a kaolinite quarry. Kaolin clay has many uses, including fine white dinnerware, ceramic objects like toilets, and it's used to coat paper to give it the slick appearance for magazines. Our next white mineral is gypsum, calcium sulfate. Gypsum is calcium sulfate. It forms in hot climates in shallow ocean basins where the water in the basin is evaporated, leaving a residue of calcium sulfate that builds up over time to form gypsum. The most common use of gypsum is in sheetrock or drywall. It's the stuff that 95% of the interior walls in America are made of. It works very good for this purpose because it's fireproof, even though the paper on the outsides is not. It's also a good sound dampener. It's readily abundant too, but it is super heavy. If you have installed a lot of sheetrock, as I have, your back will thank you for it later. Ha! Look at this old guy's cool shirt he's wearing. It is carved out of a gypsum-like product called alabaster. Alabaster is pretty soft in it, so it's easy to carve, and you might find a lot of carved objects out of alabaster. Alabaster happens, I believe, when gypsum is pressed down so hard that the calcium sulfate crystals come out and form this alabaster. Our last white mineral is called soapstone. It is also called steatite, and it is also called talc. Soapstone is very soft. You can scratch it with your thumbnail. It also has a very high melting point. And that's why they make these soapstone markers for welders. Because of soapstone's high melting temperature, it won't melt away when the welder puts his torch close to it. Soapstone forms along with serpentinite and asbestos when the bottom of ocean crust or the top of the mantle, which is made of peridotite or dunite, is pushed up on land when two continents collide. Oh yes, and here is talcum powder made of talc that has adorned the bottoms of many a baby. Maybe my earliest memory is of me standing in my crib and my older brother dumping a whole container of baby talcum powder over my head. At the time, I thought it was a great joke. Nowadays, they use cornstarch on babies' bottoms because they found out that talc of talcum powder may possibly have some asbestos in it. Could that be why the 3rd grade was the best 5 years of my life? Just kidding. Hey Rock Buds, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it was useful to you. If so, please subscribe. And I'll be making future videos on minerals and rocks of other colors. So stay tuned for those. And this here's your Rock Papa saying, happy rock hunting. Papa out.